Hey guys, it is JD Gaming Channel. It's currently 6:34 p.m. November 7th, 2025 on a Friday, and today Predator Badlands officially came out, and I saw it yesterday. This is going to be a spoiler review for this little section right here. So my quick thoughts are the movie is really good despite the PG-13 rating and some reviews here and there being not so great. My perception was completely wrong. I watched the movie and it was great. It's the best Predator movie since the first two. And I mean, Prey was also good, but like, wow, Predator Badlands was great. That PG-13 rating did not diminish the movie at all. It was great. Deck was great. The characters were great. The story was great. And I saw it in 3D, and the 3D was awesome. And yeah, you guys should go see the movie, go support it. And yeah, it was a great movie. That's it for the YouTube Shorts section. All right, now we're at 1 minute. Okay, so that's it for the YouTube short section of the video because I do want to remix this and make it into a short. And then, and then it can get redirected to this video. So yeah, this video is yet another black screen video. I know that this is the best that I can do. So anyway, to the main topic at hand at 6:35 p.m. I saw the movie yesterday and it was kind of funny too because like where I'm at um like on online it said November 6th and the 3D showing was at 4:05 p.m. and it had to be made sure that it was correct, so called the theater, and yes, it's correct because every like online everywhere it says in theaters November 7th. So of course had to double check on that. So yeah, I went yesterday, so technically I saw it day zero. I like to call it day zero. I think I think there was showings on November 5th. A double feature with Prey, which Prey was never in the theaters. It was only on Hulu, so that was cool, I guess. And I don't make it a practice to go to movie theaters. The last time I went was Sonic 3, and that's because it's Sonic the Hedgehog. But this time it was because the movie was in 3D. And I'll get more into why, you know, going to movie theaters isn't necessarily a practice. But on to the thing itself. So yeah, oh yeah, and that was another thing is that it said 4:05 online, but the ticket when I got the ticket it said 4:45 p.m. So it was weird. All the other days said 4:45, and that was also 4:45 because I was sitting in that theater for like 20 minutes before the screen turned on, and it actually jump scared me when it turned on. Oh yeah, that was another thing. My theater, this reminds me of stuff that Red Letter Media says all the time, or at least Mike and Jay, about dead movie theaters. And I'm not joking. There was only, including me, there was only 6 people in that theater, that 3D showing, and that was it. 6 people only. I was, dead center in the movie theater though. Of course, be right in the center, right in the sweet spot, for the sound, And I'll get into the sound. Oh man. But anyway, so to get into it, oh yeah, well before I get into the movie itself, there was, ads playing for like 20 minutes or something like that. And then surely before the movie started, there was a 3D trailer, before there was like an ad, put on your 3D glasses, and there was a 3D trailer, and it was cool. I actually took a bunch of samples with my phone of the movie itself and that 3D trailer, to see if like the 3D glasses, would work if I like, cast it on the TV later. It didn't work, but it was cool for me to get a bunch of samples because the 3D in the movie was really good actually. But okay, so now onto the movie itself. So the movie starts, with Deck, his brother, and the father, and apparently Deck is weak, so or something like that. And the brother and him are fighting. The brother wins. Father orders the brother to kill Deck. Deck does not, the brother does not do it, and he kicks Deck into into his spaceship, and is sacrificing himself fighting the father. And then Deck, he flies away, right? I guess the coordinates were already inputted or something, but yeah, the father kills the brother, and then that's like the motivation, or that's like the starting point for the plot. You see, Deck. I'm pretty sure he witnesses his brother get killed. I think he does. I think the ship doesn't take off yet. But yeah, he witnessed. I'm pretty sure he witnessed his brother's death, and now that's that's the kickstart for the plot, and that's the kickstart for Deck's motivation as a character, and also that the brother was saying, collect the sample or something on the planet where the coordinates are, and that's the motivation. And then Deck meets Thea, the synthetic from the trailers, and she was quite comedic. It was funny though. We learn later that she has like a personality, that she was created with a personality, like purposely. But at first, Deck doesn't care for this creature, for this creature. Deck doesn't care for the synthetic, but before I get to that, he meets her. Deck is like fighting in the, or I don't know if he's, no, he is fighting something, but he gets like hit by like a needle, some sort of spore, and then he needs an antidote. And then Thea asks him to toss like one of the gadgets that he has to her, so she can save him, and she does. She gives him the antidote, I guess, and yeah, then Deck is fine, and they walk around for a bit, and he all Deck sees Thea is as a tool, but Thea can speak Yautja, and they travel together, and Deck is carrying her on his back and everything, and then there's like a connection between the two of them, even though Deck doesn't care about her. Thea finds him like fascinating, I guess. It's like this new creature. Oh yeah, she doesn't have any legs. She got like them taken off or something. So she was like stuck on this thorn thing. I don't know. Like when they first met. And I don't really know where I'm going with this, but yeah, basically, they talk a lot more, and we see that that Deck is just like kind of an idiot. And here's what I want to get into real quick is that I really like Deck's character because he becomes, more human. And I know that there was people complaining from the trailers that they made the Yautja human, that they shouldn't do that. But here's the thing, and I said this in my community post that no one looked at, but I this is something that I noticed when I started like binging uh the Predator movies, from Alien versus Predator to Prey. I've already seen Predator 1 and 2 like a couple years ago. I don't really remember them. They were cool though. I just don't really remember them. But something that I noticed is that the Predator franchise is not really that interesting. And I'll explain what I mean right now. And what I mean by that is the predators themselves, the Yautja, they're not interesting like at all really, because they don't have any motivation for what they do, and they're also always the antagonist. As far as we've seen in every single predator thing is that they hunt humans, or they hunt whatever on whatever planet, right? That's just what they do. That's all that they do, is that they hunt. They have a warrior code and all that. and they're just not. I notice that they're very boring because there's nothing to grasp at, and this kind of goes into the stuff that I've said in my reviews for like I don't know if it was the original. I don't know if it was one of my both my Macross reviews, but it was definitely the Seinfeld review where I was talking about how since I've seen so many television shows and I've seen my fair share of movies, but something that I notice is that in all of these things, they always have things in common, meaning basically how to build a plot. You need your characters, you need your struggle, you need your goals, you need your motivations. I mean, it's not like that all the time, but the thing is that from what I've seen, it's just there the majority of the time, if not all the time. So that's what the Predator franchise lacks is that you know there's not really any motivation other than, oh, we have to kill this thing because it's after us. And it's just not very interesting because all I'm there for really is the Predator or the Yautja. That's kind of it. Because the stories, at least after AVP, weren't that great. I thought that the Predator 2018 had an interesting concept with that rebel Yautja that tried to save humanity, I guess maybe they were going to do something with that, but maybe the movie bombed, so they didn't continue it. But see, that's what I mean is that, see, you got to have something interesting there, and there just isn't with the Predator franchise. Again, I don't really remember Predator 1 and 2, but the thing is that if you have a very boring antagonist, meaning there's just no motivation whatsoever in your antagonist, the the Yautja, and the characters aren't all that interesting, then what am I here for? Because I've said this before, this is a very common thing to say about like the cake, the icing, and all that stuff. Because all I see the Predator movies as being is just plain icing. There's no cake. The cake being the story and the characters. The icing is the Yautja. But all that the Predator movies really did after AVP, the first one, it's just icing. Because okay, Predators 2010 had an interesting concept with the it was like a different planet or something, and they were capturing them and had them together. See, the Predator movies after two, they have interesting ideas, but the thing is that the execution isn't great. You know, that's the problem. Is that the execution isn't great, but the concept is cool. Again, like Predators, 2010. I guess they kidnapped them and have them be on this planet, and they were all there for a reason, apparently. They've all done something in their time, so that's why that they're there. See, that was interesting, but nothing was really done with that. And then the Predator, I know I'm repeating myself, but the Predator, then you have that Rebel Yautja, you know? And it's just, if all you have is the icing, then I'm just there just for the Yautja's, killing scenes. And that's not a movie, man. Because even Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger have their own motivations for killing people. Pamela Voorhees has a reason to do so. It's not like she's just doing it to do it. That's what I mean is that there's no motivation in the Yautja. And here's another thing is that I don't I was thinking about this too as I was binging the Predator movies a while ago, is that I don't know how fair it is to compare Predator to Alien, but Alien just does such a better job at its storytelling and its antagonist, which the there's really two antagonists in at least the first Alien, which is Weyland Yutani and the xenomorph. And Alien, at least the first one, because I'm going to be specifically talking about Alien, as it's the best Alien movie. Aliens, it's a good movie, but I mean, come on, comparing it to Alien? No, come on. I mean, I would say it's a better Alien movie than Star Trek 2 is a Star Trek movie. I don't know if that made sense, but I've complained my fair share about Star Trek 2. But so what I mean is that Alien inherently has a more human connection, human element, despite the antagonist being a an alien creature that it's just the alien creature that kills things that because that's just what it does. But the thing that Alien does better is that again it has that human element, more human connection because this corrupt company, Weyland-Yutani, wants this creature no matter the cost at the lives of the crewmen because it's from what I remember, I think only Ash was meant to make it back. You know, the android, the synthetic. He was the only one he was the only one that was meant to make it back. So this corrupt organization wants this alien creature for research to make like bio weapons and stuff like that. Like the most of the alien franchises like that. You know, they only want this thing because it has potential for weaponry. And that's what I mean. You see, there's a motivation to have this specific creature. And even though the creature is completely unaware and is probably just a big, dumb killing machine, although it is very intelligent, though it knows how to camouflage itself, but it's just a killing machine. That on its own wouldn't be interesting because if the crew on the what was it called? Dang, I actually forget what the ship was called. LV-426? The Nostromo, there we go, the Nostromo. If the crew on the Nostromo just happened to find this alien creature on that on LV-426, or is that aliens? I don't know. I'm just gonna guess here. But if the Nostromo crew just found the pod thing on LV-426 with the engineer, and that was the entire plot. Like they found it by accident, and this creature unleashes. You know, then that wouldn't be interesting now, would it? Because then there's no like backing motivation for this thing because there's a whole entire reason why they were sent there is to get the specimen, to get it to infect somebody. Well, I don't know if the intention was I don't know if Weyland-Yutani's intention was for someone to get infected, but that's what happened and they get the xenomorph anyway. But you see what I mean? Because if there wasn't that Weyland-Yutani corrupt aspect, then it wouldn't be interesting because then all you have is an accident and then a creature killing everybody on the ship. Sure, it's a cool horror movie, but the thing is that you you need that extra motivation from the plot. Otherwise, it's just a movie about a creature killing things. But that's where the humane element, despite how corrupt it is, that's where the humane element comes in. Is that see that the humans want this creature because it benefits them, you know? And that's really interesting. And plus, I mean, the movie is written excellently. The characters are great, the story's great, it's nice and slow. It's great. It takes its time, you know, like Star Trek the Motion Picture came out the same year. Beautiful movie, takes its time, nice and slow, just like Star Trek is. Wrath of Khan is just an action movie, and why it sucks. Well, I don't know if I would say it sucks, but it is the weakest TOS movie. It really is. It's not a Star Trek movie. People complain about Star Trek 5, but at least that feels like a Star Trek like product. You know, it's not just a dumb action movie that doesn't mean anything. But okay, so now that you know what I mean by, Alien is more interesting, at least the first Alien, because it has that motivation, backing motivation, and all this stuff. I know I'm not explaining myself correctly. If I could make a script, then I would. But the thing is that that's what Predator lacks. Is that all you have are these killing machines? Well, I mean, they have morals, I guess. They won't kill children or people who are, aren't any threat. Like an AVP with the character that Lance Henriksen was playing had like lung cancer, and the Yautja left him alone. Well, until he attacked again, and then the Predator killed him. But um, yeah, but that's the thing, is that they aren't interesting on their own. So the only thing that you have to fall back on is the characters. That's literally gonna do all the heavy lifting, because all the Predator is, the Yautja, all that they are is a killing machine that you have to kill. Then they're the antagonist, understandably so. But there's just nothing to grasp upon, especially if your characters suck, if the story sucks. Then I have nothing. All I have to look forward to is the Yautja killing people, and that's not a movie. Might as well just watch like a killing compilation on YouTube if that's all they're gonna do. Like a death count or whatever. I forget what that YouTube channel is called. But anyway, you know, that's what the Predator franchise lacks, and also why Killer of Killers was so cool wasn't because of the Yautja. It was because of those three mini stories, because they were written really well. The Japanese one, the World War II one, that like uh I don't know what you would call it, but that other one, like the human characters in Killer of Killers did all the heavy lifting. That's why it was so cool. Because what was cool, the are you gonna tell me that only the Yautja was the interesting part of Killer of Killers? Those three mini stories were so cool. People even said that the Japanese one could be like its own movie. I think people were saying that because yeah, that was the coolest one. Because like, see, look at that. The Yautja themselves just aren't interesting. But you see, if you have the characters to back it up, then it can work. Sort of. I mean, the Yautja are still boring, but that is where my my most recent and biggest complaint of the Predator franchise is addressed. Now in Predator Badlands, there's still like those killers with a warrior code in the beginning, but you see that the brother of Deck saves him, and puts him on that ship, which shows that he cares for him. Whoa, that's something. Cares for him? Whoa, okay. And he sends him there to get like something to bring back to the clan. Okay, then okay, those are the building blocks. And then you have Deck's motivation to avenge his brother and kill his father. You see, that's a motivation, and that's like an emotional motivation. Even if Deck doesn't realize it, even though he kept saying to Thea that weakness, or that pity is weakness, or whatever he said, remorse was like remorse or something like that. Emotion basically is weakness. But you see, Deck is growing throughout this story because of Thea. At least that's what I got from it. And here's another thing, is that Deck's path to growing more human and becoming more interesting, really, it was throughout the whole movie, it was reminding me of Worf from Star Trek The Next Generation / Deep Space Nine, where in the beginning Worf is just like a, a dumb idiot who wants to kill things all the time. And I'm not bad mouthing how they wrote Worf in the beginning, because that's just the way he is. But you see, the thing is that also he was very funny too. But the thing is that, see, Worf matured throughout the throughout the Next Generation and especially Deep Space Nine. His character in Deep Space Nine is at its peak because he grows so much throughout the Next Generation, and Deep Space Nine is so cool, you know? Like his character is always cool, but you see, he becomes more than just a dumb idiot who wants to kill things because then he's more mature. He's not, stupid anymore, and that was my biggest complaint, along with others from Picard season 3, is that for some reason Worf reverted back to like season 1 Worf, at least in terms of the stupid things that he says, which again was funny in early TNG, but now we have the character regressing from like 40 years ago. Why are we regressing? Like over 30 years and you have the character regressing back to what he was in 1987? Because if you remember, Worf used to say really weird and dumb things. It was funny, but the thing is that why are they doing that now? He like the way he acts in Picard season 3, he did not act like that at all towards the end of Deep Space Nine or and probably Star Trek Nemesis. But like he doesn't act like that. He doesn't say stupid things anymore. Like yeah, him being like the way he is, like non-violence okay, but it's just the dumb things that he says really made me angry because it's like why are we regressing the character? I mean, they've done that to Luke Skywalker too. It's like I guess it's like a theme to degrade your characters from what they used to be. But you know, so back to it is that Deck progresses as a character, and again, it reminds me of Worf's maturation, maturing journey throughout TNG and Deep Space Nine, and that's why it was so cool because again, you have the because it's funny because Predator Badlands portrays Deck as like a big dumb idiot because he is, because always like oh kill this, kill that, again like Worf, but remember Worf matured and so does Deck. There's more to killing, or there's more to their basically primitive lifestyle than killing. He actually grows feelings for Thea. He grows feelings for this little creature that was hanging out with them. Before, Deck kept calling Thea a tool. He didn't care about her. He left her to die like 3 times, or at least once. That one scene was hilarious though. It was like Thea was reaching out her hand and Deck was running towards her, and then Deck just grabbed the gun instead of her hand and said, "Save yourself, tool." And that was so funny, dude. That was actually hilarious. There was a lot of funny moments in the movie, and I could see how people would complain about that the movie's too comedic. I could see that. There's things that I try to be as objective as I can, being purely factual, try to back up the claims that I make. And I will say that the comedy didn't bother me. I thought it was really funny and charming, but I could see how people would not like that or find it annoying. So that's just me trying to show that you see I don't agree with the notion, but I can see it, meaning that I can take others' opinions and evaluate them. You know, I try to see others' opinions and go with the good and bad and all that stuff. It's the same thing that I try to do with like backing up my claims for these things. I do the best I can to be as factual as I can and to be as open-minded as I can, because without being as open-minded and taking in others' opinions and seeing what they see and comparing it to what you don't see, then I don't really think you're really qualified to make a can like make a sorry, make a review, like a very proper kind of review, because you got to look at everything. And again, I like the comedy, but I could see how people wouldn't like it and think it doesn't fit, but I thought it was fine and it was very charming. It was very funny. and it wasn't like, trying to be funny. It was just, kind of there here and there. The woman who played Thea was funny. Some of the stuff that Dex said was funny too. Um, but yeah, I like how he grew as a person, Deck. If it wasn't for Thea, then he would have stayed the same. Thea is the main driving force for the plot, really. Of course, the motivation of Deck, avenging his brother, of course, but you see, Thea is the one that changes Deck. Because without her, he probably would have just, went after the Kalisk, and then that would be the end of the day. But, he grew, and it was very interesting. Again, you see, then the audience has something to connect to. Because think about it. If Deck was like any other predator from any of the other movies, the movie would be so boring, because then what do you have who do you have to root for? And again, you see, now the Yautja is the protagonist instead of the antagonist. You can't have your protagonist be bland and boring. You can't have that, because then there's nothing to grasp, there's nothing to look forward to. You can't root for someone who's dull and boring. So that's why I am so certain that's why that Dan Trachtenberg, or like whoever the writers were, I don't know who wrote the movie. I'm sure Dan Trachtenberg had, say in the movie's like script, but you see, you have Deck being capable of being more than just a dumb killing machine. And that's what makes the plot of Predator Badlands so good, is because you have someone to root for. You finally can root for the Yautja for once, because now it's more than just a dumb killing machine. You have someone that you can connect with, that human connection. Because if all you had to connect with was a synthetic, well, yes, like, she's great, but at the end of the day, she's a robot, right? But you have Deck, a living, breathing creature, well, an alien, and he grows to have a personality. Now that's interesting, because again, if you had a predator act the same way as any other movie, the movie would not be good at all. I probably would have been bored out of my mind, because I was already kind of bored and not very interested in the other movies, because there's nothing to root for. There's nothing, even I don't even have to root for an antagonist. Usually you're not supposed to, but at least make the antagonist interesting, and the predators never are. And again, I already said that, yeah, sure, the aliens are the xenomorphs are, you know, technically even less interesting than the Yautja, but the thing is, I already said about like that whole whale and Utani aspect that makes them interesting. And the character of Deck really works to the plot's benefit. It was so good. His character was so interesting. He changed. It was great, because again, you have somebody to root for, and he's interesting. He grows, he struggles. And again, that growing, the struggling, again, I've learned this through reviews over the years and stuff like that. But the thing is that I've said this before, is that it wasn't until like Galaxy Express that I started to learn the beauty of storytelling and how storytelling works. Like, Galaxy Express opened my eyes. I already said that three things changed the way that I think about storytelling. Star Trek, the entirety of Star Trek, or at least 1966 to 2005, Star Trek, it made me realize how great storytelling can be. Galaxy Express made me realize how beautiful storytelling can be, how powerful it can be, what it can mean, and so many other things. And Macross 7 taught me or Macross 7 made me realize how powerful and beautiful music can be. And with all these things that I've learned over the years from reviews and stuff, things that flew over my head, I'm starting to now realize. And it's just so, it feels so good that I can see these things now and I can confidently critique things and know how to explain it. Even though I know I'm probably explaining these things terribly in these like little reviews, it's because I don't have like a script or anything. This stuff is like off the cuff, on top of my head sort of stuff. So I'm doing the best I can, but that's what I mean is that I've learned so much and I know how these things work. That's why the character of Luke Skywalker is interesting, because he struggles. If Luke just had it the easy way and all that stuff, then you have nothing to root for. He would just be a character that does everything right and never makes any mistakes. And that's where you have issues, because then you have nothing to, there's nothing motivating. The character of Luke wouldn't be interesting if he just won quickly. He's interesting because he struggles and he's rash and impulsive. He grows as a character from Star Wars to Return. He's a great character. He's a well-written character. He's great. And that's what makes Luke Skywalker interesting, and that's what makes Deck interesting. You have him struggle and you have motivation. The struggle is that you know his brother just got he witnessed his brother get killed. He wants to kill his father. The motivation is to kill his father and also to bring back the Kalisk from the planet to prove himself. Again, I think I'm explaining these things terribly, but Deck is such an interesting character because of those human elements. Again, I know I'm repeating myself, but if he was just like any other Predator, the movie would not be good. I'm so serious when I say that. The movie would be so uninteresting if he was just another dumb, stupid Predator. But that human element is the saving grace of the movie, and I hope that Predator Badlands, with the personality of the Yautja, that we now get to see more Yautja become this way. That there's gonna be like rebel Yautja now. This isn't the way. You know, it's like in Star Trek: The Motion Picture when Spock learns that the Vulcan way isn't the way. You know, like pure logic isn't the way to live. And I mean, the motion picture is such a beautiful movie for so many different reasons that I only began to realize as I watched on the laserdisc, as I watched the laserdisc for it. That movie is so beautiful, and no other Star Trek film has ever been like that ever since. Star Trek: The Motion Picture is such a beautiful film, and I just want to say this real quick. I might get a lot of flack for this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. If you think Star Trek: The Motion Picture is a bad movie, then you're not a Star Trek fan. I'm sorry, not sorry, because literally, Star Trek: The Motion Picture is the closest that you'll ever get to TOS TV show in movie form. And yeah, I know people have said that, people who critique the motion picture say that, oh, it's just the Changeling, like a movie version of the Changeling. And I can see what you're saying, but the scope, and quite literally, because the movie is 2.35 or something like that, its scope. The scope of the film is amazing. It's beautiful. And despite the Changeling episode being really good, I mean, Star Trek: The Motion Picture just blows that episode out of the water. But the thing is that you see, when there's kind of like rebels, so to speak, in that way, then it's like really interesting because again, you see Spock, he doesn't go the Vulcan way, and it looks like maybe Deck is headed towards that way too. Because I mean, what is like again, what is their motivation for just killing things for trophies? That's not anything that for me to grasp onto. There's nothing that's enticing me to want to know more about their culture. But Predator Badlands did such a good job, you know? And it was just great. Deck growing as a character. I thought it was all really really cool, and I don't really know what more to say. I guess I'll say that the Kalisk was actually it's actually a creature that can't die. So it's actually a creature that can't die. So because it kept regenerating. That was so cool though. When I saw that, like he chopped off the head and then it regenerated. That was so cool. And then later we find out that little creature that was hanging out with them is in fact the son or the daughter of the Kalisk or the Kalisk. Um, but yeah, the only reason that the Kalisk dies later in the movie is because it somehow got iced up. I was paying attention, of course. I just don't know how like it got iced up like randomly. I don't know. But yeah, it got iced up randomly and then like it combusted. Like the T-800 or is it the T-1000? Basically Terminator 2, the Robert Patrick's character. With like the ice and him blowing up like that. Oh yeah, and they did like that aliens thing, with that yellow thing that Ripley uses. Get away from her, you so and so. That dude on the Dolby Digital Laserdisc. You know how cool that scene sounds? Like all the gears are moving in this and on the individual speakers. It's awesome. But anyway, um, so yeah, there was that, and oh yeah, also Thea had like a sister. There was like a sister kind of thing in the movie, which was interesting too. It was like you're not my sister. Like it was interesting. That too. I like that the fact that these new synthetics got a personality, and it was according to the sister that the only reason they were given personalities was to understand the creatures and to kill them or capture them or something like that. So it was see like everything with Weyland Yutani is always an ulterior motive or like that's probably not the right thing to say. But there's always like a reason why they would do something. They never do anything for the good. They always have something up their sleeves basically. So yeah, Thea was a great character. Deck is great. The little creature that eventually, at the end of the movie, you see that he or she becomes like the giant creature like the mother was. So yeah, he so Deck brings I'm assuming it's the Collis cat. I don't know what he brought back, but he brought the head back to his father, and then Deck, I think he challenged him to a duel or something. I don't know if they just went into duel mode right away, but then they dueled and Deck won. And I don't know if people are gonna complain that how did Deck win when the brother didn't? Well, if you watch the movie, you see that he beat the Kalisk like twice. It just kept regenerating, and he was going, and and it's not. I don't know if it was specific and how much was the time length of how long he was there, but either way, he faced greater enemies than his father on that planet anyway. By that point, he's already trained himself for giant freaking creatures, right? So then there's that as well. Then you have your build up, right? You saw that he beat the Kalisk like twice. And I made this connection with Lion King. You know how in Lion King Simba gets pinned down by Nala, I think in total 3 times throughout the movie, twice when they're kids and once when they're adults. And then at the end of the movie, when Scar and Simba are fighting. Scar did win the fight. He did win the fight, but little did you know that the movie was building up the fact that at the end of the movie, Simba would finally learn how to pounce back, or whatever you call whatever they were doing. You know, he wasn't going to get pinned this time. So when it when the when it really mattered, bam, he got Scar, he kicked him off, and he fell off the mountain. You see that, like, that's what you call the build up, right? Because if there wasn't any pinning down in the movie, then yes, of course it would be unearned if Simba won that fight. Because, like, you know, where did he learn that from? But you see, it's earned. That's the main point I'm making here, is that you have to make that final thing earned, and that is what is earned in Predator Badlands. You saw that Deck is completely capable of taking down giant freaking creatures, and like he even made a freaking DIY armor in the movie too. On that planet, he made DIY armor, do it yourself armor. So yeah, the fact is that in comparison, his father's probably freaking like weak sauce compared to the creatures he fought on that planet. So yes, it was most definitely earned that he defeated his father. So yeah, then there's that. He won, and it was funny too because Deck, you know, he used like that laser contraption thing that was seen earlier in the movie when the father wanted the brother to kill Deck. So he used it on his father, and then and then the small creature from earlier in the movie is now the giant colossus creature. He she, I don't know what they, I think they specified the gender, I don't know. But he, she, or Bud, was it Bub or Bud? I think Thea named it Bud or Bud. But Bud or Bub. But Bud, I guess I'll say. It was funny because Bud just ate the head of the father. That was really funny. And then a bunch of Yautja came out, and then it seems like, hey, we did it, we won, sort of thing. And then there's like this giant ship at the end of it. Or well, before I say that, it's like, okay, we did it, we won, sort of thing. Then bam, title card Predator Badlands, or end title card Predator Badlands, and then a few seconds later, then we're back at the movie, and then it's like, and then like a bunch of Yautja come out, and then there's this ship in the background, and then they look, all three of them look at it, Deck, Thea, and Bud look at this like giant ship, and I think Thea asks, "What's that?" And then Deck says, "That's my mother." And then bam, credits. And dude, the thing is that I was thinking, because there's like, brothers and fathers in this movie, I was like, is there any female Yautja? I already know that there's like female Yautja in the extended universe. I don't know if those are canon or not. But yeah, I was thinking that throughout the movie. I was like, wait a minute. Okay, he has a father. Where's the birth giver? You know? The mother, right? And then bam, at the end of the movie it tells me it's my mother. Like, whoa, dude, we're actually gonna see a female Yautja on screen. Oh man, I'm so excited for that. But yeah, that ending was great. It was so cool. So yeah, that is my review of Predator Badlands, and it was a really good movie. I already said my piece on it. So overall, I'm gonna say it was great. I liked it. The story was great. And real quick, I want to get into the sound real quick. The sound at the theater was awful. I complained about this with Sonic 3 as well, but I feel like it got worse somehow. Because the last time I went to the theater was December 21st, I think. I saw it like a day late. I saw the movie a day later for Sonic 3. I didn't see it day one. But yeah, the sound there was awful too. But here was like just absolutely terrible. Their speakers were literally so loud, and it was peaking, dude. It was literally peaking so hard that that it sounded like the speakers were gonna freaking bust. And the subwoofer was so loud. Dude, it was like shaking the theater. It sounded so terrible. They don't have their stuff calibrated at all. I actually heard the surrounds this time though. In Sonic 3, I didn't hear them at all or hardly. It was weird. But I heard the surrounds more this time. But the thing is that the front speakers, they must have been too loud or something because they were drowning out the surrounds. I mean, dude, their system is terrible. Like, I'm sure their speakers are fine, but it's like, dude, turn the volume down, calibrate it. Like, I want to go there and calibrate it for them, because they obviously don't know what they're doing. It sounded terrible, so loud it actually hurt my ears. It was terrible. It was so loud, man. Like, it was funny too because one of the trailers, it was just like the Dogman trailer when I was watching Sonic 3 before it started. It was like because like, dude, that's what a lot of the movies sounded like. Predator Badlands, because they just had their system on too loud. They don't know how to calibrate their stuff. It was awful, dude. Especially with that tiny room. Why do you have it so loud? That's just the way multiplexes are. I mean, their rooms aren't really all that big, I don't think. But anyway, and onto the 3D real quick. The 3D was so freaking cool, dude. And the last 3D movie I saw, I thought it was Paranorman, but it was actually Episode 7, Star Wars Force Awakens, back in 2015. And, when I was told that, I was like, oh, now I remember. Yeah, I did see that in 3D. I just don't remember much of it. But yeah, I haven't seen a 3D movie in, dang, 10 years? Wow, dude, look at that. A decade, man. But yeah, the 3D was awesome, man. It was awesome. And I learned how 3D works actually a lot. I learned a lot about how it works because I kept putting the glasses up and down and seeing, like, because there's layers in 3D, and I learned about like foreground and background layers just from that 2 hour, like, just under, I think it was, I don't know if it's just under 2 hours or what, but oh yeah, also first video to be over 51 minutes, but 7:26 p.m. But yeah, it was like I learned about how foreground and background stuff worked. It looked so cool, and I'm not kidding you. In some of the scenes, I actually felt like I was there, like in the scene, and it was like towards the beginning of the movie where, like, I think like a couple people were, like, getting up and like moving off screen, and I legit thought that it was the people in my theater getting up and like going to the restroom or something. Like, dude, it like that 3D was awesome, man. The depth was insane. Ugh, sorry. The depth was insane. It looked so cool, man. Some of the scenes look great, and some of the, like, the 3D scenes were like really cool too. Oh yeah, there was 3D credits in the credits as well, and like conversion and stuff like that. But yeah, dude, the 3D was so freaking cool, man. Again, I actually felt like I was there. It looked so cool. And the depth, man, it was so good. Like, foreground and background stuff. I took, like I said earlier in this video, I took a bunch of samples with my phone. I recorded some of the samples, and it was really cool, man. Also, yeah, that theater, it was only like 2K 3D, like 1080p 3D basically. It wasn't 4K 3D, unfortunately. Ah, well, what are you gonna do? Also, with the 3D glasses, you wanna know what's weird too is that some scenes, somehow the 3D glasses magnified the fact that the screen was so freaking dirty. It was brown. Like, it was so freaking nasty, dude. And I did look behind the screen as well, like, or as much as I could. I didn't think to lift the projector screen for some reason. But I did see three. I only saw three speakers. I didn't see a subwoofer. But I'm assuming they're tower speakers because, oh yeah, there was holes in there too. That's common, of course. I just never looked at one up close. But yeah, I'm assuming they're tower speakers because I was trying to pay attention to, like, where the sound was coming from, and it did sound pretty tall. So yeah, but I mean, dude, one day they're gonna freaking bust their speakers or crumble the building down. It's like it's like GoldenEye, man, with that, like, insane sub action. I never seen the movie, but people have the theatrical mixes like that, and of course the being Laserdisc, of course it has the original theatrical mix. For the most part, Laserdisc for the most, I would say like 98% of the time, Laserdisc has the original theatrical mixes. 98% of the time. You can't really depend on DVD to 4K for those theatrical mixes, unfortunately. For theatrical, like at least even stereo mixes, you got like, your beta, VHS, and Laserdisc. But anyway, yeah, the 3D was so cool, and I learned a lot from how 3D works. But yeah, overall, guys, the movie was great, and you should really check it out. Go support it. Oh yeah, I did talk about that. I was gonna say why I don't go see movies. It's because well, it's not. I'm just seeing what I'm seeing at home. Right? Plus, I have a better experience at home anyway. System's actually calibrated here, and among other things, also THX. But yeah, it's not 35 millimeter film. If they were still doing that, then yeah, man, that's a great motivation. It's not like I have 35 millimeter at home. But if you're just saying a DCP digital, I think that's short. I think that's an acronym for digital cinema projection. And like, why am I gonna go see that? It's the same thing I got at home. 4K, 2K. It's like the same thing, dude. Like I'm not wasting my money on that. But yeah, so that is my review of Predator Badlands. Go see it. I would actually go if you're not gonna go see it in 3D, then we'll just wait until it comes on the streaming. But if you want to see that, if you want to see that thing in 3D, go support it in 3D. But yeah, so that is my review. Great movie. See it in 3D, man. See it in 3D. See it in your Dolby Cinema, wherever those are located. And yeah, that's it for this video and for my review. This is officially my longest review. My other three were 51 minutes somehow. But yeah, okay, guys, it is currently 7:31 p.m. November 7th, 2025 on a Friday. And oh yeah, yesterday was the 10-year anniversary of Call of Duty Black Ops 3, and today is the one of I think it's the 8th anniversary for Sonic Forces. So well, you have that. But yeah, it's anyways. All right, guys, this is gonna be it for the review. It's currently 7:31 p.m. November 7th, 2025 on a Friday, and yeah, go watch Predator Badlands. Such a cool movie. See you guys next time.